Here we go. Skorch the Fears with Mr. Brent Daniels. Did you like
I'll
these?
tell you what, that intro was incredible. I
Oh,
love
man.
it.
Yeah, I love it too. I could connect you with the guy who made it. His name's Marco Riviera. He's a really cool dude. He made my intro, and he made like another. He made Elena Tang. I don't know if you know her. She's like a student of Sub 2, but he
Shout
makes really
out.
cool
Shout
intros.
out. Yeah, send me that info. That'd be awesome.
I will. Cool, man. Well, I'm just gonna start off with the classic Steve Trang question. Like, how'd you get into real estate? What was the first thing getting into real estate?
Yeah, I had this deal with my parents growing up that if I was in sports, I didn't have to get a job, right?
Hmm.
So I went into college with no work experience, and I just thought that that's how you did it. And so I was talking with my buddy Mike Mahoney, my best friend, who is in the hall in my office right now,
Hmm.
and he said, my dad gave me this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was in college, and I was like, cool, I'll read it. And I read that, and I was like, this is exactly what I thought. This is great. You know what I mean? You own your own business, and then you invest in stuff, and then you're rich, and life's great. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, what's the next step? Because Rich Dad Poor Dad is really great at kind of opening and expanding your mind into financial literacy, but it's not like a step by step. This is how you go and make income
Right.
in real estate. So I was like, okay, get a real estate license. And so I did that in college, and then just kind of fell into being a real estate agent at 22 years old, right out of college, and did that for a while, and just kind of cut my teeth in the real estate market as
Why
a
did
real
you
estate agent.
start as an agent instead of an investor? Did you not know about investing yet, or?
No, I mean, you have to remember this is 2004. So at that time, the hottest books were like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Real Estate Riches by Dolph DeRoos,
Hmm.
Nothing Down by Robert Allen. And I'm
Hmm.
reading these books, and it's like gibberish to me. I'm like, okay,
Right.
that makes sense. You just go and, if a house is worth 200,000, you give them like 100,000 or whatever. But there
Right.
was no Zillow. You didn't know housing prices. Like the MLS just barely got on the internet. You know what I mean? Like it was a
How did you
whole
do that?
different time.
How did you do that? Like, I just thought about that. Like, I mean, it's right before even the MLS getting on Zillow. Like, how did you even find comps? I've been
They
thinking
had
about
books,
this.
bro.
They had
Jonah,
books.
they had books, giant, huge binders. And I
Where
swear
did
to
you
you,
get the
and,
binders?
and the front of them would have the zip codes and the ones that were active, and then the bottom would be the ones that were under contract, the middle and the bottom were the ones that sold. So you'd go to that zip code, and then you'd go to that page, and it'd be just binders. I didn't go through that. We had the MLS, but there wasn't access to the MLS. There wasn't batch leads. There wasn't PropStream. There wasn't Zillow. There wasn't Trulia. There wasn't Redfin back in 2004. That came later in like 07, 08.
Hmm.
So in I didn't know what properties were worth. I didn't know how to comp them. I didn't know how to have a quality conversation with the property owner. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just go learn real estate, I guess, and figure it out.
I love it. So, okay, that's so interesting to me. Like, where'd you even get the binders, though? Were they in like an agent's office?
Yeah, you would have to get it from your broker.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny to me because I think about it. I mean, like, when did skip tracing become a thing, even?
Skip. Well, I will tell you because I was I was responsible. No, so skip tracing's been around ever since there's been debt collection, right?
Okay.
And so the credit agencies have all of our information. I
Hmm.
mean, all of them. If you go on to TLO, which is TransUnion's data, the credit, everything's attached to your social security number, and they know everything about you. I mean, literally, you can get there's technology in TLO where I can put in your license plate number, Jonah, and find the 10 places you park your car the most,
Wow.
right? So they had all the data of phone numbers,
Hmm.
and they would sell it through their own sources. But my broker at the time was doing a lot of business with short sales in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and had gone through an application process to get skip tracing to be able to call homeowners that were in pre-foreclosure. It was way ahead of its time. And so I had access to that early. And then as I started getting loud, in 2017 about picking up the phone and calling people instead of sending marketing or door knocking, all of a sudden these companies started loosening their guidelines on what the data that they sold, and now you have batch skip tracing. So
Interesting.
yeah,
So
yep.
Batch gets it from those guys,
Yeah, I
basically?
mean, Batch gets it from data providers. There's people
Okay.
that buy it from the credit companies.
Interesting. All right.
Yep.
Anywho, that got off your story, but I was just so curious about that because I've thought about that before and I was like, how does that? I just don't even understand how to do real estate at like a systematized level pre-internet. It seems
You
like
you would
crazy hard.
It would be referrals. It's
Okay.
all referrals. You build a reputation. It was two things, Jonah. It was referrals and foreclosure auctions.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. So sorry, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Then you were in college, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You're like, this is amazing. You're like, all right, need to do something with real estate, so might as well become an agent because we didn't
Yep.
have YouTube, we didn't have you yet, we didn't have Jerry Norton's, we didn't have all these people on YouTube on like how to do it.
Yep.
So you're an agent for like how long?
So I mean, I've had my license since 2004, but I was being an agent till about 2007 for 3 years. And then I had the brilliant idea of opening up my own brokerage, which would be like an investment slash real estate brokerage. And that's opening up
2007, you said?
opening up a business in 2007, and then getting into a big office in 2008, and then the economic world collapsed in
Right.
2008 and I lost everything. I got a
Mhm.
judgment slapped on me for the remainder of a 10-year office lease, which is an
Damn.
interesting thing to happen when you're 26 years old. And so yeah, it's been, real estate is a wild ride. What I can tell you is you got to make sure that you keep a lot of cash to the side in
Mhm.
all the time. You need to make sure that you're building your business, your lead generation, to find the best deals on proactive methods, not necessarily marketing, which is reactive, which is inbound as opposed to outbound.
Right.
And you have to build up a really incredible reputation so that people understand that you're the guy or gal in your market to send the ugliest properties to, and you can get them paid or help out whoever owns those ugly houses. So you got to build up your referrals, and you got to be super proactive, and you got to really watch how much you spend in marketing, because I will tell you, Jonah, like, there are so many people that go out of this business because they make a ton of money and then they give it all back to the marketing companies.
How many?
Right?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how many? Do you have any data on this? Because I have no idea. Like, I'm curious if you have data on this of like how many people try wholesaling and
Yeah.
then like they go out of business. I feel like it'd be really hard to do it based on like somebody being interested, but like maybe someone who really like was like that where they like spent a lot on marketing and then they went out of business and like made those mistakes. I'm just curious, do you have data like that at all? It's okay if you don't.
All of them. No. I mean, honestly, it's if you build your business off of spending a ton of money on marketing, and you don't have, and you're not getting paid several times in the transaction. For example, you source the deal, you sell that deal to your own company. You also own the construction company. You also own the real estate company. You also own a piece of the title company. You also lend
Mm,
money. You do all of these things. That's how you build these big ones that have big marketing budgets. But I don't think, in my opinion, I think the best way to do it is keep it small and keep it all. Keep a small team, make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and keep half of it every single year, and just be consistent with that and build a really good reputation where, yes, you're going to have to be really proactive in the beginning to build up a good pipeline of opportunities. But as you keep going in this business, you got to build up your referral database of agents, other investors, friends and family, and everybody sending you these opportunities, because that's how you get the highest margins, because there's no marketing costs.
right.
There's no cost to skip trace. There's no cost for to have somebody call those people, and that's more prospecting than marketing. But that's how you really last in this business, is you have to have a referral database or you are done after 5 years.
Gotcha. That is
Yeah.
something interesting to think about. I like that a lot because is that like, I was going to ask you because I think we're shifting into a recession. Like my personal opinion is that the Fed is going to keep raising interest rates until people stop spending money, which I feel like would be something like, personally, I feel like that might be something as high as 10%, something like that. But beyond what they're going to do, what would you say to somebody who's starting out and they're like, man, I don't know, like the interest rate market is shifting. Should I really get into this?
Yeah.
Let's start with that person, and then I'm going to choose another avatar. And I want you, because like obviously what you say will depend on who you're talking to. But what would you say to the person who's like, man, I really love real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but everyone's telling me interest rates are rising and housing prices are crashing, and the monster in the sky is going to eat my firstborn kid.
Yeah, I get it. Remember this. Everybody should really, really remember this. And it doesn't seem like it during a lot of markets, but buyers determine everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there's not a ready, willing, and able buyer, there's no deals.
Right.
Okay. So the beautiful thing about being a powerful investor is you can always be the buyer. Always.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sell your properties once you do put them on, once you own them. You can always be the buyer. Now, maybe you want to do some flips. Maybe you want to do some stuff like that. You will get caught at some point. If you're developing, you will get caught if you're selling those. If you're developing for yourself, you will get caught. The times that you get caught are when you sell. As a big, powerful rhinoceros of an investor, right? You are the buyer. Be the buyer. Stay the buyer in your head. And this is what I mean. So it doesn't matter how much interest rates are. It doesn't matter the economy. It doesn't matter the recession. Doesn't matter up, down. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because the buyer determines the value. And so there's three parts to this. Okay. The first one is with really, really, really ugly houses. You put those under contract and sell those to the buyers, sell your right to purchase that to the buyers, and that's called wholesaling, right? You assign your deal, you get it out there, and you sell it to somebody that wants to fix it up, and you make sure that your numbers are right, okay? Really ugly houses. Houses in the middle that are dated, it's like grandma's house or your old aunt's house or just it's dated. You can go direct to retail, and you can work a partnership with a real estate, with the owner of that property and a real estate agent to be able to list those properties, and the owner gets a certain amount, and you get everything above it.
Innovation.
Innovation, baby. You got it. I love it. I wanted to kind of explain it before you threw it out because people really
no, it's good for my audience.
It's not very common knowledge. And then the last one is creative financing, right? See, the thing is people go, oh, well, if I lock up this creative finance deal, now I have this house in a neighborhood that I don't really like. You can sell your rights to that house. You can sell your contract to own that property to somebody else for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. And people do that all day. So it just depends on which strategy you want to use as you're sitting down with a property owner. And it just depends on which one is in their best interest. Because you'll have a conversation with somebody that it's in their best interest to sell it cash as is because you're not getting conventional financing on this.
Right.
You know what I mean? They might sell you a really decent house just because they want speed and convenience. So I think for your audience, another really key fundamental thing to understand is in every single real estate transaction, there is speed, convenience, and price. Write them down. Speed, convenience, and price. And the seller only gets two. Seller can only pick two.
I'm going to write that down.
All right? Speed, convenience, and price. So if they want speed and convenience, they're going to take a lower price. And then you could play around with all of those and really understand what we're talking about. If they want to sell it fast and they want the highest price, they're going to be inconvenienced because it's going to be on the market and there's going to be a ton of people coming through their house, right? And they have to clean it up and they have to keep the landscaping. They got to keep the kids out of the house and the dogs and the whole thing, right? So that's real estate. Boom.
I love it. Just a quick.
The book's coming out soon. No.
You should make a book. I'd read it. TTT. Yeah. So, okay. And then the next question, which is related, I want to make it personal about your story too, is
yes,
you could go back to Brent, 2007. He's starting his business. Obviously, he doesn't know what's about to happen, but what are the steps you wish you had taken
Yeah.
make sure you were okay. Part of it, you said keep a lot of cash.
Yep.
What were the other ones? And like, how much cash? What is a lot of cash? Like, do we think like does it?
300,000 in an account.
Okay, so 300,000 if
Always.
we always. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And this
But
is
Freud,
just
well, first pay off all consumer debt, right?
okay.
Pay off all the consumer debt. I'm talking student loans. I'm talking car loans. I'm talking credit cards. I'm talking all that. And I know that that's a Dave Ramsey thing, and pay off your mortgage and all that stuff. I am just telling you, people are like, well, that, financially, I could put that somewhere else and make a return on it. Stop it. Stop it.
Hmm.
Like, just get rid of the debt, because the debt lives in your head, whether you like
Right,
it or not. And when you are free of that debt in your head, your brain works faster.
right,
I am telling you, and better and
right.
more creative. But if you're always working to be somebody else's ROI, right? They're getting a
Yep,
return on your efforts because you went into debt. That'll always be in your head, and it'll always affect your speed at which you can run. Okay. So
right.
that's why I say get rid of all of that stuff. So number one, I was wild, right? I went and got the Mercedes. I got the Range Rover. I got this big ass house. I got an office,
How old
right?
are you? How old are
I
you?
was
You said 27?
25, 24,
25?
25,
Classic.
no, about 20, 25, 26. And so,
Love it.
in 20, and I turned 27 in 2008. So anyway, one, really, really watch the debt. Number two is, if I could go back, if I could take, the conversation I'm going to have with my son, if he wants to do this type of thing, is you need to go 5 to 7 years of like grind mode, where you don't hire
Mm,
anybody, you don't do anything, you build the skills of effectively communicating. Because I don't care if you're Grant
interesting.
Cardone or Gary Vee or Mr. Wonderful or whoever it is out there that you're following, all of them, have had tens of thousands of conversations with strangers. All
Mhm.
of them are sales. All of them. Life is sales, if you really
Life
want to
is
get deep. But sales has this like weird connotation. And I totally get it, because there's a ton of, uh, you know, weird people doing sales. Anyway,
that's bad sales. That's like pussy
I'm trying to
sales.
keep it clean. Anyway, but learn sales, learn human communication, learn how to really understand who you're speaking with, and that's a skill that it doesn't matter if you get sick, divorced, hit by a falling coconut, whatever. You can always come back and always be able to be really profitable and build wealth if you understand how to communicate effectively with humans.
I love it. So I wanna go into that. So that's really interesting to me. So what do you mean? Because 5 years is a while. Like, what do you mean by, like, so for 5 years, they shouldn't hire anybody, like, they should be cold calling for 5 years?
Yes.
And okay, so
Yes.
why? Because this isn't my journey. My journey is I started about 2.5 years. Although honestly, I had done a bunch of jobs like I had been a door knocker for like this environmental like nonprofit, which is very interesting when you're selling door
Yeah.
knocking for something you're not selling and there's not a thing there.
Yeah.
But do you mean like just make sure you have those experiences, or I really want to know why you shouldn't try to hire people if you feel like you're ready?
No, I don't mind if you have sales experience. And I used to say, don't hire anybody before you have 1,000 conversations with property owners. Nobody
Right.
listens to me. But here's the thing. There's a part of it that is, I think there needs to be a part of your career where you are Michael Jordan on the court.
Hmm.
Okay. You're not the owner of an NBA team yet. You know what I'm saying? And that's a
Right.
totally different part of your life. And I'm just saying, if you're starting out and you're really excited about this business, and you are, especially if you're younger, but even if you're starting it at any point, I want you to keep as much of the profits as possible. The
Hmm.
problem is, people get uncomfortable in that 90 days that it really takes to build the skill of effective communication with property owners. And because of that, they go, well, I'll outsource that skill because I am a
Right.
thinker. I am a visionary. I am here. I want to work on it, not in it. And
Right.
all us guys that are working in it beat you like a drum and
Right.
keep a lot more money and pay off our debts and buy a bunch of properties. And that's just the facts. I mean, you could look all the way down the line to all the successful people. Everybody was in the dirt for a while. Everybody was chopping wood, carrying water. And it's just people want to avoid that because they want the easy path. Well, the easy path does work, Jonah. It does work until the economy shifts.
Interesting. That's so interesting to me. That's very interesting in the sense that I still am in my business in the sense of like I've hired acquisition managers, but then I'm also following up on leads. Like
Yep.
I have them, I'm training them, but then I'm also still in the dirt in the sense that I'm still locking up contracts to this day.
Yeah.
I do it with agents. I'm doing agent outreach, but
I love it.
I'm about to go back into direct to seller. The first 6 months, first like 9 months to 10 months, I was cold calling myself. But that was back when I did direct to seller, and I did get a bunch of deals that way. But then I just liked agents more, so I've been going there. But I think I'm going to go back to direct to seller soon.
Yeah.
So
and then you hire people, right? And listen, this
right.
is very typical. All I'm saying is for you, I would want you to keep 90 cents out of every dollar. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that if other people are doing different parts. And then we go, okay, but it frees up my time. That's fantastic. What are you going to do with your extra time that is worth more than you were making on those phone calls, appointments, and everything else?
Right.
That's the issue, Jonah. The issue is
Right.
people trade. They're like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to open up my schedule, but then they don't do anything.
Right.
You know, I'm not talking to you personally. I'm just saying in general, they're like, oh, I'll just be the guy behind the desk, like comping deals. Like what?
Yeah.
Like Jamil Damji, who's the best comper that I've ever been around, used Zillow for the first like 1,000 deals that he did and just did it off of a percentage. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Like the people that are out there that are really building the skills of communicating and really building the skills of sales and understanding how to solve the problems and really pre-qualify and do the lead follow-up and offer presentation to the property owners are the ones that win long-term. Anybody in a hot market can lock up a deal. And the last 3 years have been a hot market. Anybody that locks up a deal, you could put it out there, cash buyer in really popular areas, they're going to get sold. Whether you make 5,000 or 50,000, they're going to get sold. That's over. That's over for a while.
Yeah.
For a while. If interest rates go what you're talking about, I don't think they'll go to 10%. But if they go to where you're talking about, that's going to totally affect the interest rates that hard money lenders lend with on. I mean, that's going to increase what they're at. They were at 10%, 12%. It's going to go to 18, 20%. Two, the mom and pops aren't going to be flipping houses.
Right.
So you're going to thin out the herd of your cash buyers and the other investors that you can wholesale to by 80 to 90% of your list.
Interesting. So, okay. I just want to make sure I got them all. So we got keep $300,000 in cash.
Boom.
Have make sure if you
pay off your debts.
Still pay off your debts. Make sure you're still in the dirt, and like if you're in that 5-year period. How did that relate to what you were doing, by the way? Like, were you not in the dirt anymore? Is that part of the
Exactly. So I was in the dirt, Jonah, until I was like, oh, I got this money. I got these cars. I can't be making calls. I'm too good for this. I'm too smart. I'm literally a prodigy of business. Nothing could go wrong. I am going to literally be the next Donald Trump of real estate.
I love it.
Not politically, but of real estate. And I am going to just, oh my gosh, everybody's going to kiss the ring. Baby, yeah, I am a mega winner, and then boom, and then the everything getting attached to that whole success and winning and not doing anything, and then it goes way down, and then you have to come back up and fight and claw and scratch, and that's what I did. I did that from 2010 to 2016, from 9 o'clock to noon every single day. I was on the phone calling property owners.
Damn,
every day.
Nice.
45,000 conversations.
Hot diggity damn, dude. That's crazy. Do you know anyone else who's done that? I don't think I know anyone else.
Oh yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah,
There are a
like
ton of people?
this is not uncommon in every industry, Jonah. Every industry. If you're in insurance, if you sell hotel reservations, if you sell commercial real estate, you do this for the first 5 years of commercial real estate, or you are fired. And they go
Mm,
all day. You are calling people all day long. I mean, you
damn.
name the industry, a mortgage broker, all of these industries, they are calling people all day long. They got to build the skills. You're not given anything. You hunt and you eat what you kill. And but we look at it in real estate and we're like, oh, well, I'll just send out some postcards, or I'll just, I'll knock on the door of this vacant house where nobody can answer. And if they
Right,
do, you probably shouldn't be talking to them because they probably got something stabby, right?
right.
Anyway, yeah. So you got to put in the work, and it's
I
it's
gotcha.
it's normal in all the other industries, but in real estate we want it easy, and that's fine. That just opens the door for really proactive people to win.
You're getting me hyped. I almost want to go back to cold calling now. Like,
I'm
I almost
telling you,
want to
bro.
get on
I
the
am telling
phones.
you, there is something satisfying, unbelievably satisfying about looking back after those years where, like, tens of thousands of people have yelled at you and rejected you, and you get that thick skin, that rhino skin, and you just you communicate with anybody. Everything slides off your back. You don't flip out. You don't worry about things. You're not sitting in the corner. You're not an introvert anymore. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, you're just a different person because you were forced to have more conversations. And I had the judgment. I didn't have a car. My dad gave me an old car. I had my son was being born in 2011.
mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like all of these things, really force you to go out and get really uncomfortable. But once you get uncomfortable and win, you're just a different person. It's major change, and all change is difficult. That's why it's like a punch to the gut.
I love it. So this was you actually mentioned what my next question was because this was and I was going to ask this question to one day when Steve Train comes on this podcast where because I know he was an introvert, like in the sense that what do you give that same advice even with different personality types? Like I'm very extroverted. Like I found no like I have pretty thick skin in general. Like I was like I can do cold calling. Like it'll suck, but I'm going to do it. Do you give that same advice to someone who's like really not comfortable talking to people in general, like the computer programmer? Like, what do you say to those types of people?
Well, most of the engineer type brilliant brains like that, and I really do think that they're brilliant, are not number ones in this type of business. They're
Mm,
number twos, right? They're the
interesting.
integrators. They're the ones that keep everything running. They might be 50-50 partners, but they couldn't do it without the person that has the mouth.
So what should
You
they
know what
do?
I'm
Should they
saying?
find that person? Like, what should they do for the integrators and engineers? What should
For sure.
they should find that guy and
Yeah.
just be like, hey, how about you stop using your cell phone? Let me create a whole CRM for you, type of thing. You think so?
Well, you don't need any of that for this business. I mean, I did my first $1 million in this thing with a paper accordion binder and just pieces of paper with notes on them. You know what I mean? You don't need any of that. That's
Do you
all.
have any recordings of that? You should put that on YouTube. That would be crazy.
I have. Hey, Matt, where's my CRM? Where's my CRM?
This current CRM
Can he
guy.
put it somewhere? I'll show you my CRM. He'll get it right now. I still
I
have it.
love it.
Anyway, yeah, you don't listen. A lot of people in our business and any business as entrepreneurs, they love being busy, just not productive.
Okay.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have 5 or 10 incredible leads in real estate that want to sell, they actually want to sell their ugly properties, then you're set at
Yeah.
all times, and you're constantly doing that. You're set. People that
Right.
set up these automations and these AIs and all this other stuff, that's incredible, but not as you're getting started. Right here. Look at this thing. Boop, boop. There it
I
is.
love it.
This
I
is
love how
this
you
is
still have it.
this is one. Yeah, I'm not getting rid of this $1 million CRM. Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
love
I'm
it.
going
I
to
love
dip it
it
in
so much.
bronze, Jonah. It's going to be around forever.
I don't know if I even know how to use that thing. You just put paper in it?
That's it. Yeah, yeah. It's tough, right?
Where's the on button?
Yeah, it's not a digital notes. It's actually like using your
No
hands and
hands
writing
and
the stuff. Yeah.
I love it. So this is just an interesting thing.
So
Just because
real quick, and I want to clarify this, Jonah, before we go off top. If you're an introvert and you are and you're very analytical, and you can find somebody that is going to be out there, and they're going to have the conversations, and they're going to hustle up, and they're going to do some things. If you can build a relationship there, I think that that's fantastic. Just know this. That person is going to leave you at some point, because they're going to look back and they're going to see what the actual production of the business came from, and they're going to know it's not you.
Right.
So just understand you got a timeline there, and make as much as you can, invest it into some really great assets, and rock and roll.
Interesting.
Or just have figure out a way to really keep the expenses down and really put a ton into marketing. There are some beautiful engineer types that build really huge businesses, like Zillow type. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That do a really great job, figuring that out. But I'm just talking about like us that are just in the streets. That it's a small operation, small business, 1-2 people. Just understand, if you're not hunting for opportunities in this business, there's going to be animosity at some point, just
Okay.
because the partnership is not fair. It's not fair for
Ooh,
somebody to have all
interesting.
the skills and everybody else to eat, to have the same part of the pie.
Interesting. So this is what I say to integrators. So I'm curious. I just want to ask you and see what you think of this. When I get people ask me that question too. So I want to see what you think of this idea. And I'm a bit biased because I like a lot doing stuff with realtors, and you've been getting into it too. I know you like have your podcast with Ryan Zolan, and I saw you did like a cold calling agents thing. I've thought that like for the more integrator types, I feel like agents might be the hack, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, because agents really close the seller. I don't feel like you really close an agent, like you kind of do, but like it's so much more business to business that it's much more like, I'm just going to tell you what I need, and then you're going to go convince the seller of it. I don't know. What do you think of that? Like, do you think that's valid, or do you
Jonah,
think that's hard?
referrals are the best.
Right.
Referrals are the best. You're already liked and trusted. And so, just so that anybody that's real new to this, and I'm sorry that I talk really fast and I get really excited about this. I think it's the absolute most incredible business of all time.
It's
That
amazing.
with
I love it.
your with this thing right here, this rectangle right here is your portal to $100 million or whatever you want it to be, and you could just out of the ether, pull out income by just being brave and having the courage to go and talk to people every single day. So that's why I get like tremendously excited about this business, right? I mean, it's just, it is absolutely life changing. But when you are talking to an agent, or when you're talking to the property owner, you need to find out 4 things. Every conversation is about 4 things. And this is the conversation that the agent already knows. And that's why, Jonah, you're so right. It's a beautiful hack, because you get the insider information. You need to know the condition of the property, their timeline to sell that property, their motivation, and their price, right?
Mhm.
Well, what does an agent know? They've got pictures. They know the condition. They know what's wrong with the property. What's the timeline? They're ready to sell now. It's either
Right.
on the market or about to be, right? They understand the motivation. They've had these conversations with them, and they're like, I can't deal with these tenants anymore. I'm going to lose my house. I have too many code violations. I'm behind on taxes, whatever it is. The agent knows that. It's like they're comfortable talking to them, almost like a therapist. And then it's just the price. And when all you have to do is come up with the price and say, I can make this as smooth as possible. Is this something that they would consider? Then the agent goes and does the selling for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
I,
brilliant. The
mhm.
only issue I have with it, Jonah, is you have to wait. The only issue I have with it is you don't have control of your schedule, because when that
Right.
agent reaches out to you, Jonah, and you're at the gym, you're on a date, you are on vacation, if you don't respond quickly to that, they're going to take it to somebody else. And
Right.
so, because of that, you always have a little bit of anxiety that you're going to miss out on a great opportunity if you turn your phone off, if you totally unplug from the business. If you're out there and you're being proactive by making calls to people, you're having the conversation on your schedule.
Right.
Like, you're not talking to people. People aren't sending you stuff, after 5 o'clock. You're not typically having those conversations unless they need to have it, right? But
Right.
you have conversations in your own schedule. When you can control your schedule, you can be consistent. When you can be consistent, you can be sustainable.
Right.
And that's why I see some people that just try to build that real estate agent model up struggle at times when they don't get enough referrals coming in.
Got it. So I know you mainly do direct to seller, like that's how you started.
Yeah.
What, but you're now, but like I'm just curious because especially on this podcast, you've been like referrals are the way to go.
Yeah.
Would you change how you did it back in the day? Would you
Oh,
think now,
1,000%.
yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
think referrals is just way better than direct to seller?
I knew that the power of this business is buyers. I knew it. I knew it, Jonah. I knew it, but I just wanted to talk to sellers. I wanted to find the deals. I was a deal
Mm,
junkie. You know what I mean? And so I became a cash buyer employee. I had 5 buyers, right? And I took
mhm,
every single deal to them, and they would wholesale them out or they would close on them, but they would make way more than I would. And
mm.
so I figured it out and really built a huge cash buyer database, and there's power there. And once you have that, then you can really start getting the referrals.
Wait, so
Because if
sorry.
you
Why
don't
did
have the
you call
cash buyer
yourself?
database, what's that?
Sorry, just didn't mean to interrupt, but what do you mean by you were an employee or a cash buyer employee? Like, were you wholesaling or were you an agent at this time?
No, 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 no. When you sell to the same buyers every single time, you're their employee.
Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting. I've never heard that before, but that makes sense.
The CBE, baby, a cash buyer employee. Don't do it.
Okay.
When there is not healthy tension between you and your cash buyer, you are getting 50% as much as you should be.
That's so true. That's
It
so
is, right?
interesting. Yeah, it's just something I've noticed in other people too. Like certain people have told me it's like, really, you only need 10 buyers. I'm like, nah. Like I like
That's
having a huge
bananas.
people
That's
come in.
bananas. I mean, look at Keegley. They
Right.
have 80,000 in every market.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
reason for that. There
Right.
and the reason for that is when you understand that there's levels to this game, and the levels are based on who can recognize potential the best, right? And if you have different buyers in there that recognize different potential, you might look at a vacant piece of land and think it's worth 500,000. I might look at that piece of land and know that it's worth 5 million,
Mm,
right? So that's what I'm talking about. You might look at that little rundown house and think that it's worth 150. I might think that it's worth 70. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just levels to this game, and that comes with experience. And what you do when you build your cash buyer database is you bring all that experience right into your lap. When you send out these properties, you get feedback on them and you understand what's going on in your marketplace because you got everybody that is doing different ways of recognizing the potential of that property. And
interesting.
that's how you sell properties for more each time.
Gotcha. Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. I was just curious about that. So, okay, this is also something I wanted to mention because I want to promote your stuff too. The rhinoceros. Can you
Yeah.
explain that to my audience? Why do
Yeah.
you have a rhinoceros right there?
Listen, so we have the Rhino Tribe, that's Wholesaling Inc., right? And
Mm.
I've been a coach for Wholesaling Inc. for 5 years, and I recently purchased Wholesaling Inc. So I'm now the owner of Wholesaling Inc.
Woo! Let's
Yeah, that's
go.
right. Yeah, let's do it. Come on, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah, you got your bell. Woo! I love that thing. That's such a
But
good
we
idea.
call it we call it the Rhino Tribe because Tom Kroll, who created the company, read a book called Rhinoceros Success. And he
Mm,
talks about, in that book, it talks about just charge. If you have a goal, charge forward with thick skin. You're going to have things coming at you, but if you stay focused on that goal, you're going to get it because you're a big, powerful company. You're a big, powerful person. You're a big, powerful 5,000-pound rhinoceros, right? And that's the mentality of it is don't overthink it. Don't get stuck with what we call the 3 Ds, right? Doubt, distraction, and disappointment. Just be a rhinoceros and be powerful and charge forward and find those opportunities. Do your first deal. So that's why we have that to me, a rhino always symbolized just like power and just kind of not giving a shit and just going for it and not worrying about what anybody's thinking about and just charging forward. And you do that, you win.
I love it. Also, by the way, I love how you have like acronyms. It's like we got the 3 Ds, we have the 4 pillars, we've got
Yep.
like all this stuff. I'm just curious, as an educator, have you noticed like that gets people more engaged? Like having
1,000%. Well,
yeah.
if it does, the reason is it gets me engaged.
TTP, like
So, right. Talk to
there.
people. Right. Acronyms. Just keeping it. The idea is to keep this as simple as possible. I mean, if you really want to just boil it down, go find a property owner that owns an ugly house and ask them if they would consider an offer.
Right.
From there, find any investor in town that will help you do that deal.
Yep.
And that's it.
I love it
That's
so much. I remember like when I was starting in this business being like, wait a minute, everything around me could be a treasure chest. Like I realized I'm like,
absolutely.
it's like scavenger hunting everywhere. Like I hadn't been looking at these houses beforehand, but literally that could be $50,000 right there, or like even more, or $10,000 or $20,000. This business,
What's the biggest deal you've done, Jonah?
the biggest deal I've done is $142,000. That's because I'm in SF.
Yeah, you're in San Francisco. But how did you find that deal?
So cold calling. I mean, it was cold calling. I was cold calling I was just cold calling. I think it was a tax liens list.
You called them?
I called them. This was like
so one conversation, right? That was
one
the seed.
conversation.
That was the seed, right? If you were to look at, okay, how much time, literal time that it took you to make that 140,000, how many hours do you think? With just that seller?
Oh, just with that seller?
Yes.
Maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours of like actually talking to them. Yeah,
Right.
something like that. Yeah, something like that. That is crazy to think about. Like that was the one that like changed the like I had made deals, but that one I'm like, oh, I can move out of the house now. Like
it breaks your brain. It really breaks your brain. I say anything that and we talk about it in the Rhino Tribe. We push everybody to join the 50K club, because at $50,000, your brain breaks. It looks at money different.
Yeah.
It really does. All of a sudden you're like, I can do a 6-figure. I could do a $250,000. I can do $1 million deal. Right? When you have, $18 in your checking account, or $1,800 in your checking account, or whatever else, and you're thinking about $50,000, you're like, that might as well be $1 billion.
Right.
And then you get it, and you're like, wait, what is happening?
Yeah.
The grooves in my brain are starting to get deeper. I'm starting to think bigger. You know what I mean? And that's when things really get exciting.
I love it. That is amazing. What's the biggest deal you've gotten? Are you willing to say?
178.
Nice. Was it
178?
We're talking about assignments?
That was a double close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Mine was also a double close. I was tripping. I'm like, nobody can, this has to go through type of thing.
Yeah.
But okay, I was just curious. So, all right, I'm going to bring it back to your story a little bit because we got off track there. So, how did you get through that period, right? Like, I don't know if there's many people watching right now who's like had their business crash yet or at all. But like, I definitely know there are a lot of people watching who are like having that head banging moment of like trying to make it work. Like, what advice do you have for those people? Like, what's your like number one, maybe another way of saying this is like, what's the number one thing you think makes the difference between somebody who makes a deal or gets their first deal and doesn't?
The difference between must and have. I mean, I'm sorry, must and want.
What's that mean?
You could want to do a deal, right? You could want to be successful. You could want to create wealth. It's a lot different when it's a must. I must not have a 9-to-5 job. I must not live in average life. I must not be in debt anymore. I must not, I must be the magnet in my family. I must change what Max Maxwell talks about, his financial family tree,
Hmm.
right? What, I must have all of these different things. It's much different than want. Want is silly, right? Want is like, okay, great. But the must have, that's the difference. I mean, if you looked at the top, I don't know, 200 or 300 students of mine, I would say that it was a must for all of them. And then it's about progress, not perfection. And I
Hmm.
think if people really understand that it's about progress, not perfection, then they understand that the little wins are crucial. Like getting into your car is a win. Driving down
Hmm.
the street is a win. Seeing an ugly house is a win. Looking and writing down that address is a win. Going back and typing that into Google under the white pages is a win. Getting a phone number is a win.
Hmm.
Calling that person is a win, right? Like all of these things are the win. That's the progress, not perfection part of it. And I think that that's really important, because I think that we try to compare ourselves to where we think we should be already, and that
Hmm.
always messes us up. And we're like, well, I already should have a deal by now. I've been doing this for 3 months, 3 weeks, 6 months, 6 weeks, whatever it is, and I should have something done.
Right.
And
Expectation is the greatest thief of joy. I've heard that saying before. Like it's just
comparison.
expecting that. Yeah,
Comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also the
that
seed of
one.
greatness. So, I mean, is the full saying, but it's yeah. I think that you can quiet the noise if you're in action. I think that's why we love the
Mhm.
rhino as like a logo or as a spirit animal or whatever. Because if you're always in action, you don't have time for all this noise. You don't have time for all this
Right.
stuff. Idle hands do the devil's work, right? And the
Mm.
devil's work just means like the self-limiting beliefs that we have in our own head. We are incredibly powerful people. We have incredibly powerful brains. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to like be obsessed with providing value to the community and marketplace. That's what a
Mm.
business is. And so we're just different. So if you're wired different, let it loose. Let it loose. You know what I
I love
mean? Go
it.
out there and go talk to people and have good quality conversations with distressed property owners, and you win.
Yeah, I 100% agree in the sense that I think it's something that entrepreneurs we really like are bad at because we always want more in the sense like you were doing it in the sense of the first like before you even have a deal and I totally get that too. Like I've noticed for myself a lot of times I really like if what'll happen is I'll get like a lot of deals where it's like 100K month or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, now we have to have plus 100K months forever. Like we've done this, we got this 142K deal. Now every single deal after this has to
Yep.
be 100K month. Obviously, it doesn't work that way when you're like starting. Like you gotta, it'll grow to there, but it's gonna fluctuate a little bit.
Sure.
Um, and I just think I love that idea of giving ourselves pats on the backs for even little things, like because it's so important in the sense of like motivating ourselves and not getting down on ourselves. Um, that even those little things are a win. So I appreciate you sharing that to start with. So okay, real estate agent has a bunch of cars. Recession hits, you skipped a little bit over in the sense that like you then cold called in like 2011, but what was in between 2008 and 2011? Did you take a break from real estate or what happened
A
there?
lot of Jägermeister.
Just a ton of drinking.
Yeah, just a ton of self-loathing and
Damn.
putting myself in a shell and dealing with attorneys suing me as a kid. I felt like a
Damn.
kid. I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And I did a little bit of things here and there. I helped people buy properties at auction and just kind of scrape by. But it was a good 24 months of just being pathetic
Mm.
before I really kind of climbed out of that. It was really like 2009 to 2011. And then, I found out that my son was going to be born at the end of 2011. So that really got me going.
I was about
And
to say.
I started clawing back with just being a real estate agent again. And I did that and then started making calls as a real estate agent for a long time. And then I realized that there was a lot of buyers buying in really good areas and renovating these older houses. So I started door knocking those properties with a group of people, and door knocked 15,000 houses with a group of 6 of us. And we had these polos on. It said neighborhood ambassadors on the back. It was it was very cute. It was very cute. But I realized that, when somebody would give me a piece of paper for the information of the owner's house down the street that was vacant, they gave me a name and a phone number. That's all I needed. If I had a name, address, phone number, I could find deals as long as they were rough looking houses. And so I started shifting my efforts of being a real estate agent to understanding wholesale. And
Gotcha.
that was really kicked off in back part of 2013 and then 14. I was still kind of playing both sides. And then 15, I really started getting into wholesaling. And then 16, I joined Wholesaling Inc. and the Rhino Tribe, and tripled my income from there, and just
I love
have
it.
been going bananas since.
So I want to also, because I find it interesting. I love when I interview people talking about their dark times a little bit,
Yeah,
like, and getting into it, because that's how I see this podcast, is like helping you through the dark time, whether you're going forward, or that's what the lion is like it, that is like you facing your fears.
love it.
So talk a little bit about, because I'm not a dad, like when you were drinking Jaeger, you're just having the worst time ever,
Yeah.
and then you just find out your son is there, and what was the feeling? Like, describe what happened.
I kind of had it in my mind, if I'm being honest,
Okay,
that I gave myself the excuse I'm going to party until I have a kid.
interesting.
That was
Okay,
just, yeah.
that's what it was.
And by the way, like, I wasn't like hanging out on street corners or anything. Like, I was
No,
still
I get it.
alive. I was still doing stuff, kind of, but not really.
Okay,
And so, found out, instantly stopped, and started kicking ass. So
interesting. Okay, I love it.
that's the thing with me. Like, but I have an interesting perspective on it. Like, I don't blame anybody that goes through that period. I don't blame anybody that doesn't go through that period. I don't think
Right.
that you should or you shouldn't. I think you should live your life. But I think I've got a lot of perspective on a lot of different people and a lot of different situations because I've experienced a lot.
Hmm.
So do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. I mean, it's part of my journey. It's part of my path. And I think if people are on that path, and they're listening to this and they want to get off, then get off. You choose it. If you want to stay on it, stay on it. Live your life. You know what I mean? Like, do your thing. But if you want to have a large income that's equal to the amount of value that you provide to the community or the marketplace.
Right.
So if you're not providing any value, then you're not going to make any money. You're not going to make any income. So once I figured that out, I was just like, okay, I'm going to just go out and try to provide as much value as possible,
Nice.
and get loud about it. So I don't think that there's any, to be honest with you, it's difficult for me to talk about it because I literally don't remember it. I mean, I say
Interesting.
Jaeger I see it in very little clips. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, it's
Because it's
not.
just so not you anymore,
Well,
basically.
I just don't. Well, maybe I killed enough brain cells, but no, I don't know if I don't know. I think I've done a good job in my life of living right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people talk about being present or whatever else. I don't know. I really don't know about any of that, but I know that I have goals that I'm looking at. I know what stuff not to do just now, and I don't really think about the past. I really don't.
I love it. That's amazing. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it doesn't like linger with you too much or at all. Um, so okay, you join Wholesaling Inc. For my audience, what is Wholesaling Inc.? What happened? You join it. What happens? What's the rest of the story?
So it started with a podcast, and an incredible podcast. It's the biggest podcast in our niche of
Love it.
wholesaling real estate, and I heard the podcast and I wanted to be close to Tom Kroll. I wanted to learn from him, and so I joined it. And so I invested in the program and myself, and just got loud in the groups, and to the point where he's like, "Hey, wait a second, you're helping out a lot of people in the groups. Do you want to like coach?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, how do you get your deals? I said, I cold call. He's like, what? He goes, you can't teach people to cold call. Nobody will do it. And I said, they'll do it if they get deals. And he goes, you really, that's how, if I said to you, you have to get a deal in the next 48 hours, what would you do? I said, I'd call until, I couldn't talk anymore. Really? Yeah. All right. You're a coach. And so I became a
Okay.
coach, and TTP took off, and that was the brand that stands for Talk to People. And that's the fundamental that I think talking to people is the biggest skill that a real estate entrepreneur can develop.
I
And
love it.
so I've coached thousands of people around the country, and it's been an absolute joy of my life.
I
So
love it.
I'll keep doing it forever.
I love it. So, um, TTP, so it started as cold call coaching. Do you like, I'm curious because I'm not a student of yours. Like, is it just cold call coaching? Is it like every single part of wholesaling?
No, now it's everything. Now it's everything.
Okay.
It's really the whole process, A to Z,
Okay. Nice.
on how to stay profitable, how to build $1 million business without you being in it at some point, Jonah. All
Right.
right. At some point, when you're after you've built up all the things, and every part of the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Gotcha. I'm just curious for my own like curiosity. Like, how did you meet Jamil and Pace? I'm just curious because I'm a sub-2 student and an Astro student. Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious. You're like, how'd you meet them? How'd you become friends with them?
Pace was one of my students. That's
Oh,
how I
that's
met him.
crazy.
Yeah, Pace became a TTP student. And so he was in Phoenix, and he's like, hey, I just joined your program. Can I come meet you with my wife and Laura? And they were pregnant at the time. And they came in, and we just had a great conversation. We just hit it off right away. And then I was selling a lot of deals to Jamil's business partner, Josiah.
Hmm.
And then I met Jamil. And then we had a meetup that was put on by Sean Terry's right-hand man, Brandon Simmons, phenomenal guy. And we would meet once a month with the top real estate investors, and Jerry Norton's sitting there, clever investor, Cody Sperber sitting
Right.
there, Jamil's sitting there, Pace is sitting there, Steve Trang sitting there. So yeah, we would all get together and support each other. And a lot of names that you might not have heard of that do way more business.
Interesting.
That was incredible. So it was just a mastermind.
Love it. So we're almost hitting on the hour. So my last question that I always like asking people that to end it is always like, if you could go back to Brent Daniels at right when he started in real estate, like I'm gonna go with right when you started as a real estate agent. I might know
Yeah.
the answer, but like if we start with real estate agent, but like what's the one thing you tell yourself?
Stay on the phones.
Interesting. Just stay on the phones. That's it. It's like, don't get off the phones. Don't get like super in your head that you're like the hottest thing on planet Earth. Just stay on the phones.
People think it's like you get educated and then you take action and that equals results, right?
Mhm.
But in reality, in real life, it's you take the action, you get the results, and that is your education.
Right.
And I think if people understand that in our business, they're gonna blow it out of the water. They're gonna do phenomenal. But I would just anybody starting out, I would put it in your head that and stay on the phones until you have 300,000 in your account. You've paid off all of your consumer debt, and you've got a pipeline of leads that it's going to keep feeding you for the next 90 days.
I love it.
Then bring some people on. Nobody will listen to me, by the way. Nobody will listen to me. Like the I don't know, 60 people that listen to me are all millionaires now. But don't worry about that. Just be creative. Go read your business books. Go talk about, EOS and attraction and all this other things about being a visionary, and see how fast it goes for you. But and I'm not trying to crap on anybody here. I'm just being honest. The people that stay on and stay in the pocket and do the work, hit that millionaire status way faster.
I love it. What do you want? What do you want me to promote? Do you want me to promote, like, should people follow you on Instagram? You want me to put in ttp.com? Anything you want me to promote right now?
Well, ttp.com I think is like a chemical company, so
Oh,
don't
is
do
it?
that. But two ways. We got a ton of unbelievable resources at ttpinsider.com. ttpinsider.com. And the second way is join me on my YouTube channel, where we go live at least twice a week. Mondays for Wholesale Hotline with Pace and Jamil. And Wednesdays, I do a 2-hour show every Wednesday morning for question and answers. So if any of this resonated, that's great. I was always told, Jonah, and this is just some advice for you, they either turn you up or they turn you off, right?
Right.
So be yourself, go out there, give the best advice that you can based on your experience. And if people take it, they take it. If not, there's probably somebody else better to learn from.
Love it. Amazing. All right. Everybody, because I keep forgetting to say this, like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Follow Brent Daniels on YouTube. Do they just look up your name? That'll get
Yeah.
Yeah. Just look up Brent Daniels on YouTube. He has amazing content. Like I told him, he was one of the first people I found on YouTube. And like I learned a lot of cold calling tips from you, from your YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So it's cool that I get to talk to you now on this podcast. So appreciate you coming on. Next week, we got Logan Manzanares. I don't know if you know him, Brent, but he's a sub-2 student. He's amazing. It'll be great. That one will be at 5 p.m. PST. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all next time.